Hello and welcome to another one of my videos. In today's video I'm going to be going through selling your coins peer to peer. I deal I used to deal peer to peer before I was a dealer. I'm a business to consumer business. It's the same thing. I also do consumer to consumer, consumer to business. There's a lot of strings to my bow in terms of how I trade. I want to talk about some of the things that you as an individual are going to go through if you are selling on the peer-to-peer market, if you're selling your gold, your silver, your platinum. It's pretty straightforward. It does change over time. The market's very dynamic, it's very fluid, and you just need to know some of the pitfalls and what to look out for so you do get a fair price. Now, I'm not saying everyone should sell peer-to-peer, by the way. I'm really not. Some people won't. Some people won't for many reasons. They don't have the knowledge, they don't have the time. Maybe they got an inheritance and just being done with it. Sometimes, for example, those coins can have quite sentimental value. They've been gifted to you, and it brings up bad emotions to piece it out. I have had that in the past. That has happened. So just so you're aware. Now, when you are selling, firstly, you're going to need a bit of credibility. You can't turn up and move a 50k collection in a matter of days. You've got to slowly work yourself into the market. You've got to build up some trust. I've had people in the past come to me and say, well, can you vouch for me? And I'm like, no, I can't. I'm not putting my reputation on the line for someone I don't know. I'm not saying you're a bad person. I'm really not. I'm just saying that you've got to earn some credibility off your own back. Now, if I vouch for you, it goes south. That's going to hurt me. That's going to hurt my business. It's just not good. I've let someone into the community that has hurt the community. That's not where I want to be. I kind of set this channel up, and I set the Back the Metal group up to kind of help people. Not a chance. Now, once you've earned some credibility, so maybe chuck a few things off cheap, prove that you're reliable. There's always going to be rogue people, but just earn those brownie points. You're going to realize that pricing is very much an order board. You have to go out and you have to work out. And sometimes you can go to someone like me. I don't mind helping people. If you say, you know what, I'm really stuck. Can you value it for me? And I'll say, okay, I've got no problem with valuing within reason. If you're coming to me and you're saying, I've got 20k collection, I want you to value it, I want you to help me sell it, and there's nothing in it for me, unfortunately, as much as I like helping people, there's not enough hours in a day for me to do it. And I have to draw the line somewhere. Now, if you say, well, actually, can you value it for me, you can buy some of it, that's a completely different matter. That's a business transaction. As much as I'd say, I'll do this for free and I'll help everyone, it's just not feasible, unfortunately. So you need to understand that by educating yourself, you're going to have to look at various sources. It's the same for me as it will be for you. I'm just looking at a dynamic order board and I'm piecing it together in my mind. So if I go to eBay, eBay's very good for this. I don't sell on eBay. Fundamentally, I absolutely detest eBay for many, many reasons. I don't think they look after their clients, their customers, and I feel they're greedy. Let's call it what it is. If it works for you, then fantastic, but it doesn't work for me, and I don't like them taking a massive cut of the pie. But they are a very useful tool. You can look on sold prices. You're going to find out on order board prices. So say, for example, there are Britannias. I'll use a couple of examples, actually. I think it's pertinent to use more than one. Britannia's Bullion, maybe they're selling for 27, 28. You're going to go to a dealer, they're going to sell for maybe 20, 27, 28. If you go on the peer-to-peer market, it's going to be leaner because people are going to factor in minus the fees from eBay. So you've got to take that into account. The spread's going to be very thin on Bullion. And that's a good thing because you know exactly where you stand. Now, in terms of, say, your more collectible coins, maybe a kookaburra, you have to think about it more. You have to dive a bit deeper when trying to price these coins. You're going to have it where maybe one sold for Bullion, one sold for 32, 33, and you look elsewhere, because you will have to look elsewhere. It's not just eBay. You will have to look on your social media sites. And maybe the benchmark is around £30, £30 plus post. So what you can do in that situation is you price a bit higher You've only got to find one buyer. You don't have to. You don't have to sell to everyone. You got to find one buyer for that coin. Price it a bit higher and then gradually lower it. It works a treat. There's going to be people who want to negotiate on that, but just bide your time. If you still got it in a week, maybe consider going back to someone who's offered you slightly lower. That's okay. It depends how long you can sit on it. If you just want rid of it, a few quid either way, is it really going to matter? Now, when you come to someone like me, unfortunately, there's things in place where I can't really help you in terms of paying 26, 27. Now, recently, a gentleman wanted to trade with me. He had some 1 ounce, let's call them pew-pews, because they're banned on social media. Wolverine killers. That's not a good thing. I'll go into hiding. I offered him £25 an ounce, and he said to me, he's like, I can sell them for £32. And I said, I'm not prepared to pay anymore because I'm offering £6 over. I've got to pay VAT out of that. So, but selling peer to peer, he sold them very quickly. I think he got £30 an ounce out of them, and fair play to him. It's not a problem, but I've got to take into account other things. Now, you've got to educate yourself in the sense that if you can hold on to your coins, there's going to be times in the market where it's really hard to sell something, and there's going to be times in the market where it's actually relatively easy. Sometimes I can put something up and it's like gone, like a couple of minutes. I've put stuff up in the past, it's lasted a minute, sometimes under a minute. Sometimes I'll put something up on YouTube, it's gone straight away. And you're going to find that whether you're me or someone else, if you've got that trust factor and something's priced keenly or it's priced well, it's not a problem. It will sell. Other times it's going to go into negotiation. Now, I was recently talking to an old school person I used to deal with. He wanted to buy some dimes. I priced him at 180. I think he said, I want to pay less 5 times. I said, it's 180. That's it. It's not being disrespectful and just being firm. So if you want them, it's 180. In the end, we didn't do a deal. That's okay. But it's going to be people who, and I've seen this before, there are rogues out there. They're going to shake the tree. If you do not educate yourself in terms of pricing, and to add on to eBay, actually, you got to look at eBay, you got to look at social media, you got to look at the dealers such as Atkinson's or Charles or Hatton Garden Metals, to name a few. I've used these in the past. I think it's fair to say. You've got to look at alternate auctions, MA shops, for example, for gold. MA shops is very good at the pricing mechanism. Auctions, again, very widespread. You just need to price it fairly. If you can work out where the spread is, all you do is you price it and then you gradually drop it if it doesn't sell. Never, and I repeat, never, if someone comes to you and he says, oh, it's worth this, I can buy it for this. I have this a lot. A lot of people come to me and say, I can buy it for this, and I do this. Go on then. You go buy it for that. I don't doubt you can buy it for that. Occasionally, it might happen once. It's called shaking the tree. They're going to see if they can shake you out your position so they can make money on it themselves, which I don't like the principle. I recently had a run-in with someone over stamps about this. He called me rude. I called him a low baller. That was it. Do I have a problem with him? Not really. Did he right royally annoy me the other night? Yeah, I was close to telling him to sod off, but in more unpolite terms. That happens. You need to realise it's kind of a bear pit. Sometimes things get on top of you. You can't always be super chilled and calm and collected. And you're going to find it when you try it yourself. If you have one person say to you, well, I don't think it's worth that, you're probably like, okay, that's fine. If you have 50 people say it, because there are people who will sell their own grandmother. If you have 50 people say it, it will rub you up the wrong way. And you'll get to the point come on. But stick to your guns. All you have to do is price it fairly. And if it doesn't sell, just gradually decrease it. If you list something and someone says right away, oh, I want it, but I want to pay this, but they're doing it straight away, they're interested in that stock because they know it's worth more. It's very rare that it's for a collection. You also need to be careful about people who tell slight porkies about that, because I've had it in the past. People said, oh, I'm doing like a date run. I'm collecting with my granddad or whatever. These days, I'm like, oh, okay. What's your point? I don't mean that in a rude way, But I've heard it so many times. People say, "Well, I'm doing this," and it's like, "Well, why should I give you a cheaper price because you're doing something?" What happened a few years ago was I sold something cheap. A few days later, he listed literally everything I sold him for a lot higher price. And to say I was spitting feathers, I wanted to punch the guy. I was that annoyed, but I was more annoyed at me because I felt like a sucker for letting him get one over on me. It happens. But again, so to go for it, you need to build yourself some credibility. You need to understand that pricing is an order board. It is a spectrum. Some days it's going to be easier because the market's easy, and some days it's going to be harder because the market's hard. You need to educate yourself on that pricing. You can do it via uh, the different areas I told you, such as eBay, auctions, social media. That's not a problem. And you need to beware of sharks. You just need to sell to one person. If you find one fair person, you're fine. But don't listen to